Bueno, a la gente que está conectada, que estuvo conectada, tuvimos problemas. Esto pasa en la época actual de la conexión, la reconexión y demás. Pero estamos grabando esto para ustedes. Stefan Diez estuvo amablemente esperando, pero lo vamos a dejar grabado para que lo puedan ver en su momento. Stefan, thank you so much for being so patient and to understand this kind of connectivity, and everything went not in the way that we wanted. But welcome again, and you are completely free to start your presentation. Thank you so much.
Buenos días. Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, it was nice talking to you about last 3 years. I was in Mexico already once, in Mexico City. It was a super nice time, and it was nice to be remembered about this nice time. And yeah, so let's. I was thinking to talk a little bit about where I come from. You already mentioned it previously, and I'm coming from a family that has a crafts background near Munich, Germany, South Germany, near the Alps, and I'm somehow in the 4th generation of carpenter family. Actually, both my mom's and my father's side, so I could say that. I have a bit of a heritage. My actual grandfather, though, was a chemist or a biologist, actually. So, however, it was like through the Second World War that everything was getting a bit mixed up, and now it's like. However, my father got into this kind of fellowship of becoming a carpenter, and I was growing up in this kind of in a household which was very close to the workshop. It was across the yard, so I had a very early and deep relation to wood, I would say. And my parents being relatively busy working there, and I mean, as you can imagine, kids, they are not always very well observed. Parents are happy when they're just like in between the material, and I was taking that as an opportunity to develop some kind of own ambition, and very early learned welding, and later on made a carpenter education. It's a 3-year course, and then stayed quite a bit actually in India, and then went on to study industrial design. Mm-hmm. And during my time as a student, at the second half of my studies, I was then working in Munich at Constantin Richard Space. And after finishing my diploma in 2002, I opened my own studio in Munich. And I'm going to maybe start to show you a few slides.
Okay.
So well, obviously we've talked about this title already, designing for a circular economy. So I'm going to talk about the role of the designer, and in these days, and I think I would like to talk also about a little bit, explain why I think it's probably the best time for designer ever. It's, I think, at least as interesting as after the war, like when everything needs to be somehow redone. I think we are in a very similar time right now, and I hope I can get this a little bit clear during my 40 minutes or so, let's say. Mm-hmm. So this is where I work. Currently, it's, as you can see probably here from my video. So it's I'm inside here, okay, but it's dark outside because we are already.
It's really big, I know.
It's already more winter here. We are a team of currently 9 people. What is, I think, very typical for our studio is that we are very holistically seeing our jobs. We are working from model making, pretty much hands-on, from a hands-on approach, using all sorts of materials. Like this is a plaster workshop. We're doing some kind of porcelain projects, and in the one in the middle, that's like we're casting a foot of a kind of an oven. And my kids are using that opportunity as well to do their own projects.
Wow.
And this is like with Wagner, it's a development of an office chair mechanism. So we are quite into the detail, I would say, in engineering. This is Rolf Hay and the new order system we developed like a bit more than 10 years ago, for many years. It's yeah, and this is somehow it looks outside. It's an old island somehow. It was used to store wood for many years. Mm-hmm. But of course, nowadays the woods are not coming anymore with the rivers in the city. They have lorries, and so this got somehow a little bit like a leftover part. It's in the middle of the city and looks like this. So I've somehow found an agreement with the landlords to rent this hall for a long time. Yeah. So we are sharing this space with about 25 other artists and designers, and we're using it as a kind of backyard utopia. And I'm showing you these pictures because I don't know what idea you have about Germany, and so I tried to give you a little bit an update about my utopia. It's a lot about having a good time also at work. Also, I must say, time can also be sometimes very exhausting to be a designer. It's
your work team is your family, I believe.
It's a bit like that. It's it always has been like that, and I especially in the pandemic times, I really realized how close we are actually. Mm-hmm. Let me jump back like some 15 years ago.
Okay.
This is Michael, my assistant at the time, and he's blowing up a piece of textile which we sewed in our studio, and it's becoming a sofa that is actually just consisting out of fabric, and it has a very special inner structure made also from fabric, and which is like fixed to the outside. And when you blow it up, then it becomes the sofa. And the reason why we did it was everything that time was about globalization. Globalization was, for me, being a young designer, the strongest, powerful change in which differentiated our time being a designer from the one of the other earlier generations. And the tool that made this possible was, of course, the computer, the digitalization. So everything could be packed in a digital drawing and shipped around. So obviously, the idea was to make a super cheap sofa in China with this kind of technique, and then ship it to Europe, blow it up locally, and then put it on the market. So this is a double-seater sofa. It was like 700 euro, probably being like $800 US, which was in that time a relatively very good price, and it was also for many years a relatively successful product. And you can see here how it's produced in China. I don't have, unfortunately, better pictures, but probably was also winter that time. But you can see that we gave color codes to this kind of things, to this kind of spot welded hooks, so that it's helping the craftsman to somehow find the right connections. And however, it's I was very often in China these kind of early years. This is like we were pot stewing for Rosenthal, or it's an orange press, and container series. I tried to really make use of this opportunity of having access to craftsmen which are curious. It was in a way a sort of a null point, like a new bottom line, like somehow the production in China made somehow everything democratic. Every company tried to go there, taking benefit from the cheap labor. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to even, also I will comment that actually in a bit. And I must just say that I was fascinated myself from that kind of possibilities, because we could, as a design studio, suddenly invent something like this. It's a lock, which I must say, I had the idea. I did all the technical drawing together with my team. We made prototypes. Later on, we made even small injection molding machines in order to test everything, if it's working. This is a simple injection molding machine to be used in a kitchen oven. And, you know, this is how this kind of part was molded. And then going to China, to Hong Kong, you can see here all these pieces on the table. We discussed it with the manufacturers, and it was beautiful. It was like new territory, new opportunities, a lot of freedom, because all the companies that previously had own manufacturing in Europe, they always were somehow strictly limited to the facilities they had. So Rosenthal would make porcelain, WMF would make cutlery, and now and pots, and other companies would whatever. And now Rosenthal was saying, yeah, actually, we know a lot more what's going on in the kitchen, because we know we're having already pots there. I mean, we have the porcelain there, so why don't we also make cookware, and why don't we also take care about how things are stored in the refrigerators, etc. So it was a great enthusiasm, and led to, I think, very interesting projects which were otherwise not possible. But let me tell you this: this project is this was becoming a bag. I mean, the price was definitely an issue, or a big motivation, because things were getting much more accessible. Mm-hmm. So we coated fabric with PVC, so that we can, the coating allows to just cut the fabric with a template, so you don't have to worry about the fringes, the edges. Okay. It stays clean. And then you can everything weld together with an HF welding machine. I mean, we made prototypes with an iron, but these are the FH welding machines, and this is the company these bags were produced and look like this.
Okay.
And it was super well received, and we did also the campaign and the photo shooting. This was in Istanbul. I mean, this was all happening the first 4 years as a designer, and it was like I was already on my way to become an art director of this company. We were doing fair stands, communication, invented the products, and it was like, I think it was beautiful. Until the moment where actually we found out that has actually quite a big downside. So first of all, at the quality. But this is not because the Chinese are not good manufacturers, but also the Chinese were experimenting a lot, and not everything that we told them they should do was actually so brilliantly engineered either. So it was a little bit a kind of a headache that we all got after a few years, because, for instance, these bags, they were ordered at Lufthansa. They ordered a whole container of these things, and then they found out that they all were getting loose. They were not welded properly. So it was a big disaster. It was a loss of money, and ultimately it was a lot of waste what we created, as honestly. And that was the time where we started to rethink about the way what we are doing actually, because me being art director at Authentics at around 2007, 2008, we saw that there was a great fascination for the cheap. It was like, you know, like if you give people give you an example, like cutlery. I mean, a set of cutlery manufactured in Germany would cost you probably 80 euros, like about 90 US dollars, but made in Europe or made in Germany even. And in a few years, the price dropped almost to a quarter of that, like 25 bucks, because it was able to produce in Far East. And this kind of, but people, they just could not say no. I mean, if you give them a cutlery for such a cheap price, they would say they will buy another set and another set for their holiday home, and then I don't know, all these kind of things. And then even Authentics, I mean, they were a plastic manufacturer. Then they started even put all their molds to China, so they produced not anymore in Europe, but they produced in China. And then there was all that things like porcelain with prints on it. It was getting really horrible. And I think I had at this time a little bit the idea that we lost all moral, let's say, in terms of we forgot everything about what is good design and what design should be about. And then, but some designers then started to also really complain about that. And for me being an art director, we for instance, we started to think about having bags produced and suddenly not from fabric anymore, but this is a paper bag that we designed, trying a completely different approach. It's not anymore about made in China, using a completely smart material, super lightweight. It's a synthetic paper, Tyvek. We wanted to produce it back in Europe at the time, and it should above all become a really new avant-garde product. I wanted to have an upgrade for this kind of material, which was used for actually it's a material that's used for architecture and for packaging, but it's making beautiful kind of stuff. And it's also in the end. It was a big discussion. I think it was too early. It was not, we were making, in the end, producing it ourselves, but I gave up somehow my collaboration with Authentics. It was a bit of, I think it was obviously like we were not really aligned with our opinions. Okay. And at the time, now I make it a bit quicker, otherwise it takes the whole evening or your morning. This is a chair that I developed together with Dominic Hammer, designer in my studio, made from sheet metal. Okay. So we definitely went back to Europe and thought, hey, what can we really do here, and how to make fascinating products, which are super long lasting or using really little material, and above all being repairable. Like for instance, this is like we were using leather as a kind of a seat. This is the tool that was produced in the end to manufacture this. Hope it's not too loud. So you have it's a piece of metal that is put inside this machine. It's opening, closing. It's going very fast, and subsequently being laser cut and welded. Somehow this is the sheet, and on the right side the ready parts. You can see that it's very efficient. The material is very efficiently used. It's basically nothing is wasted. And the good thing is the steel is a extremely durable material. You can, we got not a single reclamation from this chair, and it's like you can exchange the seat cover. And another project was somehow in the same direction. This is that will become an outdoor furniture for Emu. So there was an invention, Emu, Italian company. So we somehow invented a kind of a special connection between the frame and the seat, so that we can use a very elastic seat material to sit extremely comfortable. And we used aluminium as a frame, so instead of steel, so to make it very long lasting. To create a whole collection of outdoor seats and seatings. Now I'm really happy about this kind of collection. It's but after years of use, you can see here the sun apparently, especially in South Europe or with the combination with the salt, can really make the straps wear out. But thank God we can replace the covers, the seat, because it was made as it was already our concept in the design to make it repairable. And I think this is a very important aspect of the design for the future. Everything must be really maintainable. And this is Sveva in our studio, girl in our studio. She's like, she's repairing an old chair, which is 7 years old, and giving it another.
Was the company okay with repairing the chair?
Actually, we are still actually quite in a heavy discussion with them, because the problem is there is no infrastructure for repairing. That means obviously you cannot just send a repair kit to the end customer, because if you have two left hands, which is usually the case with the people who are not working in crafts, they will not be able to do it. So they need someone who is doing it for them. And it's, I would say in Europe, the infrastructure for these kind of things has gotten quite worse the last decade. So I think this is something that we have to somehow re-establish in the future. And I'm totally convinced that this approach will allow beautiful products which are extremely long lasting if we manage an after-sales service. And this is something which I think will anyway be the future of design, because as we know all, that design has to become circular. There will not be waste anymore. Right. And there's really no reason why should you throw away a perfectly all right frame just because the seat is gone. So another project, we try to use natural resources, even those that are growing even faster than wood. There's bamboo. You probably, of course, you know it from Mexico. It's growing probably also like hell there. This is like in a workshop in Japan where I had the idea to make a kind of a flat pack furniture out of it. This is a trestle, but it should become benches, trestles, tables, whatever. So this was some of the idea, like coming up with green bamboo cut in Japan.
Okay.
You get it. You bend it around. You can see it now. I think I shut up, but this is Joel and Adrian, designers in this team. So using the elasticity of the material and somehow a kind of a locking mechanism. So this was for me the new avant-garde of products, like using something which is like growing. Don't treat it just like it is without chemicals, and then convert it into a table. It looks really beautiful. I'm happy with it, but it's totally naive, because what happened after in this dry climate in Europe is they got totally full of cracks. First of all, they lost the green color, these pieces. They got yellow, but they are also breaking. Okay. And what's even worse, there are some small bugs which are eating up the bamboo. So in the end, as we are still working on it, actually, I hope I can give you an update by mid of next year. Okay. But the bamboo was it was a nice try, but it was not really coming into a successful commercial product. Okay. Yeah, but the idea is we are still breathing on it. We are as I said, we hopefully can show you something then very soon. And now we're going to talk about a project which is actually just from last year, or basically it just got this year on the market. It was a collaboration with a very old German company. Okay. It's called Midgard. Midgard is a company that was founded by Kurt Fischer, an engineer that actually invented the task light. He had the idea to put a light bulb into a kind of a movable kind of a mechanical kind of construction. So allowing the designer or whoever is using it to have the light directly coming from a very close position, so you don't make a shadow with your face or with your head. Especially important for architects, and this is Bauhaus. Right. Their house is a studio of Walter Gropius and his students working there. So everybody had such a lamp, and it's funny. I like it because, of course, architects they are. It's still now like that. Architects are those who are working day and night. Designers, nothing has changed the last 100 years. So, but after the war, first of all, there was the Nazis came in the 30s, and so many intellectuals, all the architects, basically all Bauhaus architects, they went to US and continued working there, and they took these lamps to America. And in Europe, the company was under Soviet, in the Soviet zone, somehow lost its kind of, it lost its connection somehow to the West. And after reunification, like they were not competitive anymore. But so David Einsiedler, he's the guy whom I'm showing here on this picture. He bought the company a few years ago, and now it's coming to the interesting point. He asked me, Stefan, how would you design a light for nowadays? Can we I was basically getting the briefing to reinvent the task light, and I mean this is brilliant when you have a company with such a heritage. Plus, nobody has actually done this the last 70 years for that company. Of course, there are companies like, this is Artemide, Michele De Lucchi's lamp, which everybody knows, of course. This is of course these are the lamps which are nowadays. This is Citerio, and this is a light from Kaufmann, for Serien. But you know, all that the last 70 years, designers have struggled with gravity to get that relatively heavy light bulb lifted, and somehow lifted in a way that it's like reaching out far and go back, and everything should be effortless. And there was a lot of invention of complicated mechanisms to get this done, and resulting in a relatively complex product, which is consisting out of hundreds of parts. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be possible to make a light which is working like a straw, like a weed, like something which is like bending in the wind, and we control it with the electric cable. So I think. Wow. You can imagine it like this, maybe. So this is a prototype, as a mock-up. You can see. Okay. And it's a fiberglass stick, and it's moving. And the mechanism would just be something like a clamp, which is somehow fastening itself along this kind of, while you slide it along this kind of stick, this tube. So there were coming a few these are tryouts in the studio. But basically the idea was not only to simplify the lamp, but also to make a lamp which should be able to, it should be cost efficient, but it should also be repairable. Everything should be detachable. And this is Lina, the designer in my studio who worked on this project. It's our workshop. We made a presentation. You can see here, Joke and David during the first presentation. We really made him huge lamps. We said, okay, we can make 5 meter long lamps, or even longer or higher. We used all the height of our studio, and was going very well. So the big struggle was some of the development of this kind of adjusting mechanism. And so this is like, for instance, a detail drawn by Elena, because what we want to manage is that this kind of adjusting mechanism should always be replaceable. As in case something is going wrong, we want that a normal client, you send in a packet and you can replace it. And if the cable is breaking, we don't want the client to send back the whole lamps on you. You just get a new cable. And that was somehow a new design challenge. I think, if you think industrial, you don't think about that. You would probably co-injection mold everything, make it into one product, and then faster finish. And if it's broken, then buy a new one or send it in. But it doesn't make sense. A product which is costing 200 to 800 euro, you can't send around in the world. You will just like so that's why it was so important to really engineer in such a way that really literally every piece is replaceable by the customer. And we used a plastic for it, which is coming from the car industry, leftovers like this. And then we made all the parts from that with a German company, which is produced in this kind of injection molding machines. I mean, probably you've seen this before. It's like, it's making baking sand. I mean, you have a cavity, you fill it with hot plastic, and the mold opens, and then you get these kind of things out, these kind of parts. And although this company is really a small company, Midgard, they invested all this money in making all their tools, which was actually quite expensive. And that's really also from our experience that we collected in the last years, we are really, it's not the first time that we do injection molding, and we are really feeling very safe with it. Okay. And in combination with these craftsmen and these engineers, which are just around Munich, we were able to develop this product pretty fast. It's just taking a year. And now it's like, it's ready. It's a few months on the market.
Okay.
You basically get a very small packet. You can assemble it yourself. Okay. So this is the.
Or is this for the European market, right?
No, it's actually also sold in the US. Actually, in that ICFF, I think it's starting these days. Actually.
Yeah, next week, I believe.
Yeah. It's gonna be there.
Okay.
And now you can see like Lena is sliding it and adjusting the light position just with these kind of sliders, which are self-blocking. I'm actually really happy about this kind of about this product.
That's really nice.
It's I think it is. We got actually quite a long way. I mean, it's not the most complex product. It's not high-end electronics, but I think it explains that it's possible to engineer a product, electric device that you can repair yourself and you maintain it. And even if you shift, you can take everything small and pack it. And I think potentially it can have a very long life. And that's the detail of it.
The name of the product.
I know for Midgard. I mean, everything can be found on our website also, or you just Google it.
Okay. But is the company okay with rebuilding and replace all the parts?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's not really a changing thing. For Midgard, actually they were from the beginning onwards aware of that. And by the way, also like these kind of design criteria, with this product, when this product came on the market, everybody, the media was extremely interested in it because it was so easy to explain for me with this product, what is so important for us as a design studio? Why do we spend time on engineering a kind of a small detail? Is this really so important? yes, it is, because it serves a bigger kind of a purpose. And so with this reaction and winning the sustainability award with this lamp in Germany, I somehow decided to publish our design guidelines.
Okay.
I can show you here. Maybe you can't read it, but if you want, you can find it on our website. Yeah. Basically, it's about it sums up. It's not these design guidelines. They are not an invention by my studio. They are things that has been taught probably in all design school the last 100 years. It just has never been really applied.
Right.
For instance, it says design is built to last. Is the first thing. It's designed in such a way that things are having a long life, and long life means not only being very durable but also being flexible, because people are changing their flats, their environments, and if you want the product to it has to embrace this kind of the flexibility, and has to somehow react to this kind of to this ever-changing kind of habits or circumstances. Then it says that it has to be repaired, and we already talked about it. And to be repairable means you have to either make it repairable by the consumer itself, or make sure that the consumer can find someone around the corner that can fix it for him or her. Then also this kind of aspect of updates, like there may be more efficient LEDs in a few years. There may be, there may be new colors, a better quality, etc., etc. So it's very important to construct products in a way that can be updated. Then also what we've talked about it today is already that it has to be made from recyclable and renewable materials. Like either take it from the biosphere, a regrowing material, and then try to not treat it with chemicals that are making it into waste, but just ideally they remain compostable. Or you take something which is coming from like an artificial material like plastic, but then make sure that it can be recycled. So that means everything needs to be detachable after end of life, because the biggest problem with recycling is actually the purity. And it's about energy consumption during its lifetime, and also during the manufacturing process. And of course, you have to take consideration that a product that is maybe consuming more energy in production can gain a lot of energy by a longer life, or by a more perfect kind of energy use. Then we spoke about transportation efficiency, and then it says a product has to be more than circular. And what I want to say with this is that a product needs to be fascinating. It's very important that people are building a relation to a product. It should be designed in a way that it has a story. It needs a story. It needs to catch the attention for it. It doesn't have to be cheap. If someone is willingly paying for it, it's just make sure that there's a sort of a friendship between the product and the user and the owner, and I call it responsive relation. Right. And above all, it's very important in the future that it has to remain. It has to be elegant. It has to be joyful, and fascinating. So that I think it remains to be a central kind of an aspect of good design.
You have to have a connection with your product.
Exactly.
You have to have history, and in that way, it can be part of your life.
Absolutely, and it's all. I don't have in general a problem with consumption of things. I think consuming things is fun, but it's definitely not necessary to consume a lot. It is. you know, a product that is like discovering more and more facets, the longer you use it, and you discover somehow, you know, how carefully something is designed, and you suddenly realize that after years of use, and you still appreciate it. I mean, that's just the best that what can happen to a product. You don't have to. I mean, ideally, you have to. Most of the products we are using, you have to buy only once in your life, or you even inherit it. Brings me to the next point. A circular product can be used by many. It's also one of these things that nowadays more and more easy to realize with kind of apps that share products. It's from the children's equipment to ski equipment to cars, etc. And if you share it, means the ownership is not the user. That means the responsibility for the maintenance remains with the person or with the company that's sharing it. And that is interesting, because that is suddenly the quality is becoming a totally more important aspect. Mm-hmm. Also the warranty. I mean, I see absolutely no reason why we should, in the year 2020-22, still bring products on the market which have only 1 year warranty. I mean, sorry, let's give it 10, and everything else we just don't want to have on the market. Basta. And then I think it's very important where things are manufactured. I think it should be manufactured by people that are as in a free environment. It is important that these products are produced in a political stable country that is where people are treated properly, and where people are also able to say their opinion without going to eventually jail or being prosecuted in any way. And it's important also to take care about all these kind of social aspects of it. And that's, for instance, I have to clearly say, I mean, I'm absolutely not keen in producing things in China right now. Also not in this. I think it's. I must say, China itself is a fascinating country. I think all the people I met there, they are. I was very positive surprised. But it would be, of course, much easier if we would somehow play with the same rules, etc. And the last thing is, good design should be as little design as possible. It's of course about make it like efficient, and if possible, maybe use even a software to achieve the same goal. And the decision of publishing this was, I think, a very good decision, because from now on, it is just for us much easier to talk with our clients. I would, as I said, these kind of rules are not an invention, and it's just like, it's more or less something, a collection of what was anyway already in one or the other way explained. And it's like, it's a common sense, by the way. Mm-hmm. But to have this written up like this in 10 points is a very good basis to talk with a client. Right. And suddenly it's becoming much easier to understand. And that was, I think, the good aspect about publishing them. And I think,
and I see a lot of opportunities in the sense of small communities. For example, in the circular product can be repaired. There's so much small economies that depend on repairing so much things that are disappearing because all the new things that are becoming to the market really cheap, and for example, the massive market that just buy and buy and buy, they don't repair. But in that sense, if you repair, you can have an opportunity to give another job and to maintain different a long-lasting tradition economy. Yes, family economy.
I mean, we have to admit that the whole world is working as our luxury that we have, especially like in Europe and America, right, is heavily based on the consumption of material. Mm-hmm. And we designers, we're sitting in this key position as there's no product done without us. And we know more or less a lot about where things are manufactured, what are the circumstances, what are the marketing goals. And I would say we designers, we should just take much more serious these kind of principles. Yeah. And we can, also I see really these times governments becoming ready to even ban things like waste. We are talking now about the necessity of chemicals, because not everything that we have is really, really important. We can also live without it. And it's not even increasing the quality of our life. I mean, okay, we can talk probably the whole morning or evening, my evening, about these details. I hope it got a bit clear. And I hope also I can spread a little bit the enthusiasm on this optimism that I'm having currently, because for instance, the way the cities are they got heavily under pressure with the online shopping, not only because all the kind of the post office cars are blocking the streets, but also because it's a huge packaging as a waste of packaging material. It's not always very efficient to order 2 deo rollers by Amazon instead of just going into the local drugstore. But also it has with this kind of easy buy online, all the kind of repair service have also vanished. They've disappeared. I mean, it's in Munich getting, in the meanwhile, quite difficult to find someone who's repairing a good leather shoe. So what I mean is, like, I see a future where shoe manufacturers will probably have their repair shop, bringing the repair shops back into the retail areas, because they will have to take care, because probably in the near future there is no waste allowed anymore. So what do you do with a pair of shoes that you have at home, and you cannot throw them in the forest, you cannot dump them just in a trash can, but you have to literally bring them back where you bought them. And so I think there is a way of creating a new business between low-end and high-end services. And well, I mean, many things has to be reinvented, but that can be quite fun.
Yeah, and also we have to take care of our things, in the sense that we have to take the responsibility of taking the product to the shoemaker or whatever, and to love even more our products. That was part of the that you show us.
Yeah, it is like, but I mean, I see people proudly wearing a cashmere polo with a hole. I mean, every grandmother knows how to fix a polo that has a hole, right? It's like, of course, any grandfather should know that, but then you make some nice pattern around it, and it's becoming. I mean, these things have been a sign of poverty in the past, and they become a sign of taking care in the future. And this is like a change that I realize it's more and more visible. It's starting with such beautiful details, and it can be applied in all that kind of, in a wider field, much wider field. Do we have another 5 minutes?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, then let me just show me the one last product which I designed together with Dominic Hammer. It's a sofa for Margis, and I think it's so far the probably most complex project that we designed for a circular economy. It's as I said, a sofa. And remember what we just went through, these kind of 10 points. The first thing was to take care about the longevity, and therefore it has to be flexible. And that means when we got the question from Margis, how could a product be, how could a really modern or a really contemporary sofa be designed? And I got really the kind of allowance to really change everything. So we thought it must be ideally consisting only out of one component, which can be combined in any possible constellation, because this would allow each component to be very, very useful. There's not a kind of a left corner that you don't suddenly need anymore and have to put in the attic, but you can, every part remains useful. So there's, but let me explain you the journey a little bit from the beginning.
Okay.
Looking at upholstery furniture nowadays, I mean, this is really ugly, but it's really how upholstery furniture are still made everywhere in the world.
Right.
A wooden frame or steel frame, then all sorts of materials stapled together, becoming an inseparable unit. This is a student of mine, Yasmit. She's attending a kind of a workshop for upholstery furnitures, and so the students were researching and trying to finding out what's the problem with this furniture of today. Another way of manufacturing upholstery furniture is this. It's like molding PU foam in a shape and having a kind of a metal frame inside, and the elastic straps and everything. Looks beautiful. It's can make very three-dimensional shapes, but it's impossible to clean the cover. You cannot replace the cover, right. And also it's impossible to recycle. So I'm 100% sure these products, they will disappear from the market very soon because they're difficult to maintain. And what we have tried to come up with is a completely new way of this. A construction principle is completely different. So the main body is made from a hollow plastic construction made from recycled polyethylene. That's the material that we are knowing from shampoo bottles and such things, packaging material, and it's widely available on the market. The color I don't care because it's inside. Okay. Then we try to get rid of the polyurethane foam as much as possible because PU foam is a material. It's like not so easy to recycle. So we try to minimize it and use pocket springs as pocket springs are these kind of feathers which are packed in a small textile bag, and everything is held together with a kind of a cover, and the cover is replaceable and exchangeable by the end consumer. So everything had to be really easy to assemble. So the idea of making the cover exchangeable is not only is first of all that when it's wearing out, then you can replace it. But it also gives you the possibility to clean it, mm-hmm. And it also gives you the possibility to change the quality of the fabric when you, for instance, want a different color because you probably don't like blue anymore in 10 years. Then you can still do that. But also we wanted to give or already build in this possibility sorry, I lost the red thread. With this kind of setup, you also have the possibility to create a return system around the sofa, because since a sofa can be refurbished into a new sofa with locally, you can get your money back for the parts that you give back the shop. Okay. So the challenge that we found is how to fix this cover onto this body, because if it's too loose, it looks shit. It's an Italian company. They really have a high standard in upholstery. So we can't have this IKEA style wobbly thing. But we also know that textiles, they're shrinking when you wash them, or they have. So we use this kind of slits on the side. Came up with you can see that, and we pull the fabric to the inside of the structure. That's Dominic, and this is finally so this is showing how it's dressed. It's after 4 years of work, we are now at the point that it's like there's inside a cater, you can slide it inside this channel, and actually the cover is somehow shrinking onto the body. And yeah, here you see the empty body, also the hollow body. And you can see how it's manufactured. There is kind of in small cut, recycled or like shredded kind of PE boxes or bottles, and then they are roto-molded. The mold is made hot, and then the whole thing tumbles. And when you open the mold, you take out the completely ready kind of core of the sofa. And that somehow you can see how you can assemble the sofa. So first of all, the sofa's armrests are detachable. So when you detach the armrest, the core, as it is, the single element remains completely intact. There's no screw hole that you see, because we are using the slits also to connect the pieces. You're gonna see this later on in the next video. So this is like after deassemble the cover, you can now exchange the cover or further unbuild the sofa and really literally separate it into the raw materials. So you have the polyethylene parts, which are the black ones. Then you have the pocket springs, which are completely recyclable because they're steel. The polyethylene can be made into a new sofa or something like that. The polyurethane is now recyclable in mattress recycling factories. In the European Union, it's going to be compulsory that the mattresses will have to be recycled. They're not anymore allowed to be incinerated in the future, or landfill is also not allowed in the future. So remains actually the fabric to be recycled. And so currently we are working with Quadrat and Fabric on a version which should be fully recyclable. We're probably using a wool from it, 100% wool, but that's a further development project step. But yeah. Oh.
I saw it in the salon, during salon. It's amazing. And the people from Magis were so proud of the products that it was the only one that they were presented during the salon.
Sorry, was the music a bit loud, I think?
I didn't hear the music.
Okay. Yeah, what we show in this clip is like that you can, with a few components, you can endlessly somehow combine it. You can, so there's this kind of, this unit, this is the base unit, and there's a left and a right armrest, and there's a poof. And in these kind of few components are in any direction combinable. And I believe that we got quite close to our own briefing that we gave ourselves.
And how long was it the process of reaching to the client to convince them to produce everything for this product?
Actually, that was not so difficult. Magis is a very enthusiastic avant-garde company. Eugenio Perazza is already, he's not a teenager anymore, I would say. So I think he worked in this company for over 60 years, almost 50 years. So he has a lot of experience, but he knows somehow, he has his kind of instincts, and he gave us there no limits somehow. Still, of course, it's a very young product. It has to prove its potential on the market. We are not designing theoretical products. We are really designing products that you can actually buy in the market and on the market. And I really want to change if I want to change something, I think it's through good practice. I'm not not so much for remaining in theory. It has to be applied. And I think this is a great opportunity for us designers. We can, it's a lot to try out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stefan.
Yeah.
And I would like to finish it and to close this talk. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. And I would like to maybe if you can tell the young designers, because you as a designer have the opportunity to take care of, to take responsibility of
Yeah.
to take an action of the designs of what you do design and what you're going to give to the world. Can you? Yeah.
What was the question? I didn't understand.
Can you tell the young generation the opportunity that they have now, that they have the power to change the mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is, as I said, I think it's, as to me, how I see our branch, I think it's the most interesting time since decades. It's as interesting as in the 50s and 60s. I think we are about to really reinvent our environment, and I think it's the big chance for the new generation to do everything really different from how we did it in our generation and all the generations before. I think to create the artifacts of a completely new lifestyle, like the Vespa and the baguette and the Bialetti cafeteria and the chevaux, etc. of our time, like really as a products that are really clearly making visible what are the new values, and yeah, there's no time to waste. Just start doing it. That's somehow yeah, how I see it.
Okay, thank you so much. And also my team is telling me that can you stop sharing the presentation so you can
yes,
see. Yeah, don't worry. And just also thank you so much. What I like the most of the presentation is the first time in the beginning that you show us and the products that they were not that successful, and because sometimes we see just the successful products and we don't see that part of learning, because we learn more from the failures than from the other things, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's, yeah, maybe this is something important. If we should work experimental, and that approach always allows mistake. No mistake is a problem. If you don't make mistakes, then you're not experimental enough.
Right, definitely. Okay, and thank you. And what's one last thing, Stefan, we have the opportunity to some different companies can see this video. Can you tell some the owners of the companies what's their responsibility to take care also of this part of changing moment?
Yeah, I think as a company owner, you are responsible for the environment, but you are especially responsible for your company. And I think there is no doubt that the circumstances will change. For instance, I can see it in Europe when you have specifications for new buildings and there are chairs and sofas specified, you can be sure that in a very near future, you will not be able to sell a chair which is not fully recyclable. And because no company that is commissioning a dealer with outfitting their kind of factories want to take the risk to look like an idiot, to still have not heard the time of change, the shot, as I've been in Amsterdam the day before yesterday on a conference of the PU foam manufacturers in Europe, and not a single company was complaining about these new regulations.
Okay.
They were just trying to get along with it, and they take it as a challenge. And I think this is a good attitude. So it's not any more time to wait for and to try to even prolong it a bit. EU will be then the last. Exactly. You're not gonna look good. Yes. You're not gonna look good. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And wow, I mean, well, I hope that got a little bit clear. If suddenly work gets again so meaningful, and I think that design has not been so meaningful the last years, actually, in many ways, just a decoration.
Right. And it must not be a decoration. It must be a part of our
Exactly.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I don't know if you want to share something else for our Mexican audience.
I would love to come back. I can't wait to go to all these kind of nice spots that I've remembered in my Google calendar. It was fantastic. I was only 3-4 days there, but I showed you before the whole it's full of hearts that I want to see again. And I'm sure there are many more. And I would like to say hi also to my Mexican friends and colleagues, and I follow their work, of course, every day on Instagram. So
let's make it possible and to bring you again to Mexico, and let's work on it. And I'm going to be really happy that you have more spots now in the next time that you come to our country.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Ciao, Greta.
Thank you. Gracias.